It's the High School Sports Today podcast with Coach Rick Cleveland.
Good evening and welcome to the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today, presented by the United States Sports Academy. And a beautiful Tuesday night here in Mobile, Alabama. You drive 20 miles across the Bayway, thunderstorms, lightning, not a great day to fly a kite. But welcome to High School Sports Today, and boy, it's been a tough week for lots and lots of people across the state of Alabama. And tonight we're going to talk to some really outstanding coaches. We're going to visit with Jed Kennedy from Dothan High School. We're going to visit with Bobby Carr from Montgomery Carver, and then we're going to talk to Simone from WKRG, sports director here in Mobile. Then we're going to go all the way north to Muscle Shoals and talk to our good buddy Scott Basden at Muscle Shoals High School. But, you know, this weekend was a very tough weekend for lots of folks in the state of Alabama that follow high school sports. And we certainly want to send out our sympathy to the Morgan Academy community, the football team, and that entire group of supporters there at Morgan Academy. Their young 16-year-old quarterback, Caden Tellier, lost his life playing a game that he loved, and we certainly send out prayers and sympathy to Caden's family, the Morgan Academy community, the school, his teammates, his coaches, and I know it's been a rough week for them. Hope you folks in central Alabama there around Selma know that you are in prayers from Huntsville to Mobile and from all sites in between, because coaches all over this state have been praying for you and will continue to pray for you until this kind of settles down and the family's able to move forward. And that's certainly something that we're praying for, and we certainly know that his faith was foremost in his life, and that is interesting in the sense that we hope that everybody can have that peace that Caden had. So please know that we are right there for you. And so we want to talk high school football, and we're going to talk a little bit of high school volleyball. Had the big volleyball tournament up in Birmingham, and McGill Tulin from here in Mobile was the winner of that tournament. And congratulations to the Dirty Dozen, as they're called. But we certainly want to talk more about what happened in high school football. And we're going to go through a few of the scores that we think are impressive or important. And, you know, in 7A, we had some teams that really did some outstanding things. Auburn goes into North Miami and defeats North Miami Beach 49-0. And when you talk about really good high school football teams, Coach Etheridge at Auburn has done a tremendous job there. And I know that you folks around Auburn, Opelika, are excited. Opelika's got a new coach. You got all kinds of things going on there. Of course, Opelika got a big win over Benjamin Russell. Up there in North Alabama, Austin and Hartselle had a 2-overtime game where Austin won 35-34. Down here in Mobile, of course, Baker and Juan Johnson coming in from Hewitt-Trussville, former OC at Hewitt-Trussville, defeated Theodore 33-23. A lot of people down here in Mobile believe, as I believe, that Theodore is going to be one of the real bell cows here in Mobile. Steve Mask has got a heck of a football team, and I can promise you there'll be a different football team as we go forward in this season. Interesting matchup over in Phoenix City, Central Phoenix City. Of course, Patrick Nix came to Central Phoenix City from Pinson Valley, and those two tied it up, and Central defeated Pinson Valley 61-14. And congratulations, Central they hadn't missed a beat. I can promise you that. Great win for Patrick, and I'm sure there's a lot of great memories between those two schools as far as their coach is concerned. So congratulations there. Up on the hill in Daphne, they defeated McGill Tulin 34-15, a big win for Kenny King and the Daphne Trojans. I'm going to tell you, I don't know that I've ever seen as much quickness on a line of scrimmage as the Trojans displayed in their game against McGill. You can rest assured, though, that David Faulkner over at McGill-Toolen will be ready to play again this coming week. That'll be an outstanding team that you'll want to watch because they're always going to be really, really good offensively. Over in the Wiregrass, there's a big matchup between Enterprise and Andalusia. Ben Blackman's Enterprise Wildcats played Trent Taylor's Andalusia team, and Enterprise won 35-7. And that was kind of surprising to me because Trent Taylor's teams are always a very savvy bunch of football players, and for Enterprise to win that game in such an easy fashion was kind of surprising to me. Hope a lot of you maybe saw Thompson and Grayson out of Georgia on ESPN2. And that game went down to the final play of the game where Grayson scored a touchdown to come within 1 point. And they decided since they were on the road, they were going to go for two. They go for two and win the game 15-14. Thompson's still really, really good. Don't count them out. Mark Freeman's team is going to continue to be a force in 7A football. And then Hoover, I'm telling you, got to really be proud of Chip English and the job that Chip has done in a very short period of time there. They go down into Florida and play Western on Saturday night and win 17-14. And then a big game here in Mobile was Viger and Blunt, and Viger just had their way with Blunt on Saturday night. Those were the two Saturday night games. And, of course, Viger has a new football coach, and he has done a tremendous job there. And they defeated Blunt 38-6. And looks like it's going to be a rough year for Blunt. Didn't see the old Blunt team that we had seen before, and I got to watch them a little bit more. Really big battle here on Old Shell Road in Mobile as Helm Barnett's St. Paul Saints beat Terry Curtis's UMS Wright Bulldogs in a really a thrilling game there, 10-3, and some kind of football game there between those. Well, it's really 13-10. It was in overtime. So, that was just an impressive football game that St. Paul's won. That score was 10-7. It was 13-10. It was 13-10. That's what it was. I get that score messed up all the time because it was an overtime game. You know, one of the guys that I'm really excited for, Robert Stale had lost 26 regular season games. And when you talk about 26 games in a row, you're talking about a team that was really hungry to win a football game. And Robert Stale just, I'm going to tell you right now, you get Chris Bell in there and those guys win a game, and that entire community is super, super excited to win a football game. Congratulations to Chris and his entire staff there. One of the things that was interesting to me, former college coach Vince Koenig is on his staff, and he's built a pretty doggone good staff over there at Robert Stale, so I'm so excited for those folks. By the way, we got the question, how can we ask you a question, Coach? And I'll be glad to answer as many questions as I can. All you got to do is go to the Facebook page, type in a question, and we're monitoring it. We'll be glad to answer any question that you've got for us here on the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today. I may not know the answer, but I can find out the answer for you pretty doggone quick. So don't hesitate to ask us a question here, because we certainly want to do everything we can to answer all your questions. We got some great guests tonight. We're talking about Jed Kennedy, and Jed Kennedy over at Dothan. Jed was a defensive coordinator at Enterprise and came in with Rick Darlington there. And, of course, Rick Darlington ran that single-wing offense at Enterprise, and Jed did a great job running that defense for him. But Jed had a lot of experience coaching up north and had won a state championship up north, and he took the Dothan job after Northview and Dothan High School consolidated. And one of the things I think that's really important is when you consolidate two great schools like that, you bring some cohesiveness to that staff. Well, they went in a different direction. They brought in a guy from outside, didn't know anything about Dothan, just had played against him while he was coaching at Enterprise. And Jed has done an amazing job there at Dothan High School. They have improved their facilities. They spent several $1 million to improve their facilities. As a matter of fact, this past weekend in Dothan, they recognized the 1981 and 1985 state championship teams from Northview High School. They named a practice field out of the former coach at Northview, Harry Wayne Parrish. So what they've tried to do is they've tried to bring those two communities, school communities, together as one. Now, let me tell you, that's been really tough for some other places in our state. Go up to Gadsden and let them tell you a little bit about bringing in the new Gadsden City High School. Go to Tuscaloosa and let them talk to you about merging some of those high schools. It's a tough job to do. If we remember here in Mobile, when they took Alma Bryant and they made Alma Bryant High School and they consolidated those two schools down in the Bayou, it was tough. It was really, really tough. But they had a principal, happened to be Ed Lathan, who brought in a coach who really was the perfect fit for them, and it was Rush Probst. I'm telling you, Rush did a tremendous job here at Alma Bryant. Later, Mark Lassiter, who is one of the mainstays on Prep Sports Report every Saturday morning from 8 to 10. Mark Lassiter came in and continued that job, but since that time, they have really struggled to win football games. So, when you put two schools together that are bitter rivals, it takes a while for that to come together. Now, Danny Horn up at Ashland and Lineville combined, and there wasn't I'm telling you right now, if you've never been to that ball game between Ashland and Lineville, if you want to say slobber knocker, that was a slobber knocker. Those people don't like each other, didn't like each other for a long time. Now they've come together, and Danny Horn's got one of the finest high school programs in the state of Alabama. So consolidation, while those of us on the outside looking in say, well, why does anybody ever beat them? I mean, how you got two schools that were winners in their own classifications, and now they're coming together as one? Well, so who is the latest version of that? Well, let's go to Montgomery, and let's look at Sidney Lanier High School, and let's look at Carver High School. So those two schools have merged. Now, neither one of them have been perennial winners. You go back to the 60s, and Sidney Lanier was they were a big-time high school football program. And Carver has been good sometimes, and sometimes they hadn't been very good. So they go out and hire an offensive guru in Bobby Carr. And Bobby Carr is now the head football coach at Carver-Montgomery. Bobby's only won about 15 or 16 Alabama Independent School Association state championships. Matter of fact, he was an offensive coordinator down here for Nathan McDaniel at Alberta High School. And this job at Carver came open, and they snapped Bobby up really, really quick to run their program. And it doesn't. All you got to do is look at last week and see what Carver did last week, because it wasn't even close. When you look at they defeated Vestavia Hills High School, and I want to say it was like 49-13 or something. I'll get you that score, that exact score, but I'm telling you, it was not nearly as close as we thought it would be between Carver and of Montgomery, and for some reason I don't have that score, and Vestavia Hills, but it was a big win for Carver over Vestavia Hills. While I'm talking about Vestavia Hills, there's a lot of people that I've talked to this week that said, Coach, they've got one of the finest young coaches in the state in Robert Evans. And that's for sure. Robert Evans he comes from a great lineage. He played football at Vestavia Hills for Buddy Anderson, and the score of that game was 41-19. Carver over Vestavia. He played for Buddy Anderson, and nobody needs to debate the kind of football coach Buddy Anderson is and was. Of course, he's retired now. He was the winningest coach in the state of Alabama for a long time. And his dad was an assistant coach there. And when you talk about Bruce Evans, you talk about a man who has got people have the utmost respect for him, not only as a coach, but as a human being. And so Robert Evans, probably one of the best high school athletes I've ever had the privilege of watching. He not only was a great high school football player, he was a tremendous high school baseball player. And he had kind of a little niche in his life. He had a brother that had special needs. And when you ask Robert what he was such a competitor, he said, I'm not only playing for myself, I'm playing for my little brother who can't have the joy of playing this game. So I want to be the best I can be because I want my brother to be proud of me. And that's pretty solid. And that's the kind of man that Robert Evans is. But let me tell you who they play in their schedules. Now, I want you to hear this. You know, and when this person told me, he said, Coach, this is one of the most respected coaches in over the mountain in Birmingham. He said, Coach, I want you to look at their schedule. Of course, they started off with Carver, and Carver-Montgomery is loaded, no doubt about it. Then they play Keith Etheridge from Auburn. Then they line up and play Hewitt-Trussville. You know, they've been pretty good for the last few years. They bring a coach in from over in Arkansas, and he has done a tremendous job. And then they play a team that, well, if there's a weak link on this 5-game schedule, it would be this one, Hillcrest of Tuscaloosa, who's moving up to 7A. And then they close out that 5-game streak with Thompson. Now, we all know how good Thompson is and the job that Mark Freeman's done there. So Vestavia doesn't even get to breathe. Carver, Auburn, Hewitt, Hillcrest, Tuscaloosa, and then Thompson. I don't know of anybody in the state that's got that kind of schedule. And I can promise you this, Robert Evans and those players at Vestavia Hills High School will not back down 1 inch from any of those teams. And I believe that they'll win a couple of those games. Now, I can't tell you who I think they'll beat because that would be a disparaging remark to somebody at another school. But I think that they'll slip up on somebody, and it won't be a slip-up. Those coaches that play them will know when they watch film on Sunday that they're playing a team that's well-coached and will get after you. That's a tough road to hoe there for Robert Evans. Now, you know, we had 3 schools that jumped from the AISA to join the AHSA that won this weekend. Lee Scott defeated Excel. Glenwood out of Phoenix City defeated Valley. And Pike Liberal Arts defeated New Brockton. Now, there's another one that's just joined, a private school here in Mobile. Really, it's in Fairhope, called Bayshore Christian. They had a scrimmage, and they were successful in that scrimmage. Now, here's the question I have for you folks in North Alabama. How is Bell Green playing a football schedule? How are they being classified by the AHSAA? They're not in a region, and so they've got about a 7-game schedule, but I don't understand how, by rule, through the AHSAA, Bell Green has a football program. I know they announced that they were going to have a football program, but I think there was some political goings on that said, no, we're not. Well, but they played Shoals Christian, and they posted on the website that they won 20-6. So that's a question that I don't have an answer for, and that question was asked me after our Saturday show. How is Bell Green playing a football schedule when they're not classified and they're not in a region? I can't answer that question, but I'm sure that I can find out the answer. But I don't know that, and I share your concern there. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. What was the big story here in Mobile? I think the big story here in Mobile was Baker defeating Theodore. Now, Juan Johnson comes in from Hewitt-Trussville, and, you know, Juan stayed on as assistant basketball coach for the girls, and they had a run toward the state championship there. They had a great run there themselves. But Juan has already proven himself as a good football coach in the Birmingham area. And he comes into Baker, and they play a team that most of us down here believe is one of the premier teams down here, that being the Theodore Bobcats. Well, they go into Theodore, and they don't take any mercy. They win 33-23 over a team that's coached by a Hall of Fame coach. And when Steve Mast's team gets beat, you better not want to be playing them the next week. So that's kind of a big story down here. Another big story is for all you guys that are NFL fans. All of you know who Phillip Rivers is. Phillip Rivers, of course, played high school football at Athens High School, played for his dad, Steve Rivers. You folks down in Sylacauga know Steve Rivers well, probably the best athlete to ever come out of Sylacauga High School. Phillip Rivers' dad, Steve, was an outstanding high school football player. As a matter of fact, he signed with Mississippi State out of high school. He was a tremendous high school basketball player and made several all-state teams. What people don't know about Steve Rivers is he was probably one of the top 5 tennis players in the state of Alabama. And I'm talking about, this is a guy 6'3", about 195, and I'll tell you right now, he was a dang good tennis player. So a multi-talented dad now. And his son, Phillip, of course, goes to North Carolina State after playing at Athens. Auburn recruited him, said he could play tight end. He said, no, I would prefer to play quarterback, so North Carolina State came in and grabbed him. He set all kind of records at North Carolina State. So he spent, 17 years or so in the NFL playing with the San Diego Chargers, and now he's coaching. He's coaching at a private school here in Fairhope, outside of Fairhope, called St. Michael's. Well, guess who's playing quarterback? Another Rivers. Gunner Rivers. And when you talk about Gunner Rivers, you're talking about a young man that had a pretty doggone good football game, his opening game of his sophomore season. I think he was 20 for 24, threw for 268 yards, and that was a big win for St. Michael's. And for them to win that game over Bayside, who's a very well-coached team, in the fashion that they won it, was a little bit of a surprise. But there was no surprise as far as the play of Gunner Rivers. Matter of fact, they play another Catholic school this week. They play John Carroll out of Birmingham. Can any of you tell me who probably the greatest players that ever played at one of the greatest players that ever played at John Carroll? Well, if you said Pat Sullivan, a Heisman Trophy winner at Auburn, you would be right. But there's a bunch more. Dickie Smaltz played for them. They just had a litany of really great high school players there at John Carroll. And at one time, they were one of the premier teams in the state of Alabama. Now let's flip the coin on the other side. You know what we're starting this year? We've got 113 girls teams playing high school football, flag football that is. We have 2 divisions. We have 1A through 5A, and we have 6A and 7A together. How is that going to pan out? That's probably going to be an outstanding thing for young ladies to play flag football here in the state of Alabama. Look forward to seeing how that turns out. A lot of people were wondering, flipping back to Metro Birmingham, or really over the mountain Birmingham, people were wondering how Chris Yeager's Mountain Brook Spartans would do traveling to Demopolis to play a pretty good football team in Demopolis. Well, when you look at what Mountain Brook did, they go into Demopolis, which is not a real easy place to play. I can tell you that. They go into Demopolis and shut Demopolis out 28-0. Now, people don't know this about Chris Yeager. Chris Yeager kind of got I don't want to say he got his training, but he was a graduate assistant and was on the staff at Troy for a while. And Chris Yeager may be the very best offensive line coach that this coach has been around. Now, there's been some really, really good ones. You go talk to Jeff Kelly. Jeff Kelly will tell you a couple of names that he'll say in his eyes are as fine offensive line coaches as there is in the state of Alabama. And you can go to a lot of different places and they'll say, your O-line coach is a guy that we really hang our hat on here, because we can run the football because that coach or this coach or whoever that offensive line coach is teaches it the way that it needs to be taught. Well, let me tell you this. I coached for 45 years in high school football, and I can tell you this, Chris Yeager can coach it as well as anybody. And he's been a successful head coach at Mountain Brook High School and has done a tremendous job there. And you better watch out for them in 6A football. And I know Sarah Lynn's loaded. If you talk to people down here in Mobile, they'll tell you Sarah Lynn has got more talent than anybody around. They got a quarterback that's already committed to the University of Texas in KJ Lacey. They've got 2 wide receivers that could play for anybody. And then they've got a 10th grade running back that may be the best player on the team. So, yeah, they're loaded. They're absolutely loaded. So those people that think Saraland may be off this year because they lost the best player in the state last year in Ryan Williams, no, they're not backing up at all. They are absolutely loaded. And on another point here before we go to break, I heard a lot of talk about, well, UMS is not what they used to be. Boo-hooey on that. Let me tell you this. Terry Curtis's football team played a tremendous football game against St. Paul at the stadium on the campus of St. Paul's. And they did a tremendous job keeping St. Paul's out of the end zone. The defensive coordinator, Jay Cozio, was fabulous, and his players played tremendously. And Terry has got a young quarterback, a young 10th grader in Max Fowler. And Max is a tremendous athlete, a really good basketball player, a really good baseball player, and he's going to be one heck of a football player. And he's going to be a really outstanding quarterback for Terry Curtis and those guys at UMS Wright. Let me tell you this. Don't hang your hat on UMS Wright not being a good football team. Terry Curtis has never in his coaching career had a team back down from anybody. Hey, when we return, we're going to talk to Jed Kennedy, the head football coach of the Dothan Wolves. Those guys go down into Florida and beat Childs, Florida, 27-7. And you don't go down to Florida and beat Florida teams like that. So when we return, we're going to talk to Jed Kennedy from Dothan High School.
Welcome back to the High School Sports Today podcast with Coach Rick Cleveland.
All right, welcome back to the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today. And, well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's not anybody in this state that I think has the opportunity to build a program from the ground up and do what this next guy's got a chance to do, and that's Jed Kennedy. Jed, welcome to High School Sports Today, and, of course, you were the first. As a matter of fact, you were our initial coach on here, and Tell us just a little bit about your win last week. You go down into Florida, or you played at home, I'm sorry, and you beat Childs, Florida 27-7. Talk just a little bit about that, Jed.
Yeah, hey, well, first of all, Coach, thanks for having me on. I love talking football, and I guess more importantly, I love talking Wolves football. But, yeah, I thought one of the things, in the past, nothing against Carroll being a 5A school, but, I think, in that cycle of non-region games, I don't know if we really found out some of our weaknesses like we maybe needed to. So we went down and scheduled Childs. Their head coach is Bill Reagan's going into his, second year, played at Florida State. Just a really good football coach and known for having physical teams. And Childs is a big school. They won 6 games last year. They lost to Niceville by single digits. So we knew they were going to be good. And their coach had told me when we had this thing scheduled, he thought they had a chance to have a really good year. And so we knew that going in. And to be honest with you, they were probably even a little better than we anticipated. They were physical. They had 4 or 5 Division I kids. They had a great quarterback. They had a big 6'4" safety outside linebackers, and it was a good game. We got a chance to play a lot of kids, and we're up 20-0 at half, but really never felt like we were blowing them out by any means. I mean, we had to earn every yard we got, and I thought our defense played really good. So when you play a good team like that, you find out things that you got to work on and got to get better at, and certainly we were able to do that.
Jed, when you talk about Dothan High School, that merger that took place, and you got there right after it took place. As a matter of fact, this weekend they celebrated there at your stadium at Rip Hughes the 1981 and 1985 state championship teams, coached by Harry Wayne Parrish. Talk just a little bit about kind of the culture that was there for this ball game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, obviously, anybody who's from down here know that there's a lot of pride in Dothan. There was a lot of pride in Old Dothan High, and there was a lot of pride in Old Northview. And so when you take those schools and put them together, I wasn't here for the first 3 years of it, but I think there was a little bit of, hey, I'm Northview, I'm Dothan High, I'm not a wolf, I'm a tiger, I'm a cougar, that thing. And I think that we're kind of, not that you're ever 100% over it, because people obviously take pride in where they graduated from, but now that we're into year 6 of the merger, we're getting where it's kind of become accustomed that we have one high school here. And, it was great honoring those teams. I mean, we had the players from those teams walk through the new facility, which hopefully we get a chance to talk about on Friday before the game, and got to meet them. And you could just see, number one, the pride they had in the school they played for, but also understanding that these are the same kids now that are now playing for the new Dothan High. And, they talked about how they follow the team, and they look at these kids just like they looked at themselves as kids from Dothan. So I think we're kind of getting over that step of it. And obviously, because we are, it only helps us with what we're trying to build here.
We're talking to Dothan Wolves head football coach Jed Kennedy. And, Jed, talk just, and you and I have talked about this a lot. Talk a little bit about, as you've brought this team together now, in year 2, this is kind of feeling like home now. The kids are settled in.
Yeah, this is, we talk about it, this is, year 3. And year 1, we were fortunate enough to win 8 games, qualify for the playoffs, win a playoff game. They hadn't won a playoff game between the old 2 high schools in 20 years. And if you combine those seasons, there's been almost 40 seasons between the 2 schools that someone had won a playoff game. So we're able to do that. Then you come back the next year and win 8 games again. So now that we're into year 3, I talk to these kids all the time. These were freshmen when we took the job right before Christmas. This was the first group we saw that now have been with us for 2.5 years. And just because, and again, I'm never one that says better or worse. It's just different.
Yeah.
And so because our freshmen actually go to a different building called Carver-9, these freshmen weren't really around what was over here. So I went in and went fully in with those guys, knowing that all they are going to know is what we're going to install. So those kids are now seniors for us. And it was a really small class. There was only 23 freshmen that played football, and we still got 21 of them out.
Wow.
They're great kids. They're physical kids. They're done everything we've asked them to do, and really, I know are just in for a great senior year. So it's, like I said, it hasn't been easy building it. Anyone knows who comes in and tries to turn a program around. Sometimes it's 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. Sometimes it's right when you think you're around the corner, you get there and you realize you're not even at the corner yet. But we're certainly climbing those stairs, and we're a lot farther along than I think a lot of people thought we would be going into year 3. And I think probably all but one of the rankings had us ranked in the top 10 of the state. Like I told our kids, I go, that really has no bearing on this season how it goes, but it shows us that we've done something the last couple seasons. And that's just awesome for our kids to be recognized for the work that they've put in, and the assistant coaches for the time and effort. They're meeting right now as we talk. Tuesday's a night where our coaches are up here till 9:30 at night. We practice till 6 o'clock. It's a 15, 16-hour day for them. I can't thank those guys enough for the work that they put into this program.
Jed, Rip Hughes, for so many years, many people have considered, and if you've ever coached there, as we have, it's a great home field advantage to us. It always was. Talk a little bit about Rip Hughes, because it's a great stadium, and they've done a whole lot of work in that stadium. Kind of bring the folks around the state up to date on what's going on at Rip Hughes.
Well, it's always been a great city stadium. It holds 9,000 people. It's big. It was actually modeled after the stadium that Central Phoenix City plays in. So if you go to their stadium, it's very similar to the both. 2 years ago, they started a renovation thing to it, and between the 2 years, it was just about $22 million they put into it. So Jumbotron, turf, new locker rooms that rival college locker rooms, 100 lockers, big wide open spaces. Each locker room has its own training room. Each locker room has its own ice machine. State-of-the-art concession stands. Then they took all the old existing things that were under the stadium and renovated those into new concession stands, referees' locker rooms. So it's, really one of the best city stadiums in the state. It's everybody who comes down who kind of hasn't played here in a couple years are just blown away by it. The guys from childhood coach, what an unbelievable atmosphere. And really, I'll put our atmosphere on a Friday up against really anybody in the Wiregrass for sure, and probably in the state.
Jed, talk a little bit about your coaching staff, because I'm, even as close as I follow it, I'm not up to date on your coaching staff, and talk a little bit about those guys.
Well, number one, I think the thing that sticks out is, we've got 6 former head coaches on our staff, and got guys who just want to coach. I brought, our offensive coordinator's Justin Jones. He was a guy who started his coaching career with Coach Faulkner over at Enterprise. That's where he graduated from. He was really one of the targets right away when I took this job to get him over here as our offensive coordinator. And Jackson Hansen's our run game coordinator, also coached at Enterprise. A lot of people might know his dad, Buck Hansen, longtime offensive line coach. And Jackson's literally one of the best O-line coaches I have ever been around anywhere. And I've been doing this long enough to say a long time. He just, he's an O-line coach. He looks through a tunnel at O-line. That's all he cares about. Our defensive coordinator is Rich Bedison, who actually coached for me way back when I coached in Florida, was a head coach down there, hated being it, came up here. So that was just, 3 guys that came in. We haven't had a lot of staff turnover, but, this offseason we added Travis Baxley, was a defensive coordinator up at Pike Road. He was, defensive coordinator at Charles Henderson a while back. He was a head coach for a little bit of time at Pike Lib. We added Will Garner, who was actually at Northview prior, and then ended up becoming the head coach at Daleville. We were able to bring him on. A guy by the name of John Bizoons, who we played college together, football, and he was a head coach in Minnesota and down in Florida, to bring him in, and just a great group of guys. Quincy McKay was a new addition for us this year, coached at Dale County, just a young guy, great energy, great coach, connects with our kids. and then, two other guys, Alex Sanford was a longtime baseball coach here, teacher in the building. I always look at people, how they relate with kids, and Alex is a relationship guy. He's a worker, and I think that if you have those two qualities, the football things will, come together. We hired Prattville's defensive coordinator this offseason, Nick Lansdale. He had a connection to here. Many people probably know the name Thomas Dowd, who plays basketball up at Troy, was an all-state player. Well, he married Thomas Dowd's sister, so I always look for people who have a connection down here, and him. And then, Hugh Broom works with our blocking backs, and he's one of the few holdovers we had from the previous staff. And just, again, they're relationship-driven people. They're workers. They care about kids, and, they're loyal as all get out. And I know that, I can be a bit of a ball buster, and, we work long days and work hard, and our guys never complain and always are willing to do what's best for this program.
Well, you certainly have assembled a pretty doggone good staff there. When you have 6 head coaches on your staff, there's always somebody that you can lean on and say, how would you do this? And it's always good to get that kind of feedback. And
100%. They've been through it. All of our coaches coach. Or anything I do to take off your plate, you don't have to ask. I mean, like I said, we just have guys that are workers, and they understand on a game day that I'm probably not the most talkative individual, as I'm trying to get my mind where it needs to be, to call a game on a Friday night. And just, again, you take our head freshman coach. Our head freshman coach is Wayne White. He's the only guy in the city who's been a head coach at Northview and Old Dothan High. Yeah. So we've got a guy who's been a head 6A coach at 2 different schools running our freshman program, and just can't say enough about the staff that we've been able to put together. And to be honest with you, all those things can't happen if you don't have the supportive administration. We've got an unbelievable board of education, that was behind a $13 million project that we moved into back in February. And Dr. Cole's as good a superintendent as I've ever worked for. And then you go to the school level with our principal, Dr. Bland. He's an ex-head football coach from down in Florida, and our athletic director, Jessica Noble, she's a coach's AD. She wants to help. She wants to problem solve. And I think when you put all those things together, it's kind of the perfect recipe right now to build a football program here.
We're talking to Jed Kennedy, the head football coach at Dothan High School. And when you talk about regions in football, I know the people in Birmingham that talk about Thompson and Hoover and that region being really strong. Well, let's come down to 7A Region 2. And let's look at this region and talk about how tough this region is. Jed, I don't think there's – and now you've added Carver-Montgomery in there, and Bobby Carr is loaded. They're absolutely loaded. And so when you look at this region, there's going to be some teams that stay at home that are good football teams out of Region 2.
I was talking to somebody the other day that they were reading an article or something. Not only do I believe it might be one of the toughest divisions or regions top to bottom in the state, it realistically might be one of the toughest regions in the country. Again, not that we put a lot of stock into rankings, but there's a ranking that has us ranked 6th, and 3 teams from our region are ranked in front of us. And then you go to another ranking that has Carver ranked third in the state, and they weren't even in the other rankings. So it's, there's most all the rankings have 5 teams from our region in the top 7 or 8 teams in the state. A lot of people have 3 of the top 4 teams in the state coming out of our region. And, it's really the SEC West of football. It's a great challenge. We have our work cut out for us. I believe that we can match up with anybody on our schedule. With that being said, if we don't play well, we'll get beat by anybody on our schedule too. And it's like I said, it's going to be crazy to follow from week to week. And our schedule starts out with a bang. We played Childs. He's probably going to win 7 games down in Florida. We then go play, a team up out of Albany, Georgia. We had trouble finding an in-state opponent. Yep. But we then go 3 weeks in a row. Enterprise at home. Which everybody knows the rivalry part of it, but to me that's not important. It's about the playoffs. I just saw in the state, writers, so they're third in the state. We follow that up with with Central, who a lot of people have number 1 in the state. And then after that, we play Carver. So we go Enterprise, Central, Carver 3 weeks in a row. And, you know, the one thing about our region is everybody's going to have that stretch at some point, and ours is early. And I can promise you we'll be ready, and I can promise you we'll play hard, and we'll see what happens.
You know, you play those 3 games at home, don't you? Am I right?
Yeah, really weird schedule. You know, we have 6 home games this year. You know, we paid the teams out of Tallahassee to come to us 2 years in a row. So Childs will come back to us next year. Our last game of the regular season is Godby. Well, they'll come back to us next year too, and we're able to pay them to come here. So those are, but we have 5 out of our first 6 games are at home. And then next year we go 2 home games, and then we go 4 straight road games. So it's just a unique schedule. But you know, it's, you know, one thing about living down here, and Coach, I know you've been here. We drive 2 hours about every other week to play people. So
yeah.
it kind of is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the great thing about this is this year, and that's all we can talk about is this year right now, is you get 3 really good teams in your region at Rip Hughes. And that's big. That's big. Now, next year, it's going to be flipped. But I like that. I like that you get those 3 teams at home, and it gives you a great opportunity for your fans to see the true football when a really good Dothan team plays Enterprise in Central Phoenix City and Carver-Montgomery. You should make a lot of money at those gates, Jed.
Well, football is an expensive sport, so we'll take some good – I mean, we had a great crowd week 1 against Childs. I mean, just the home side was absolutely packed. You know, when I took this job, people told me, and Coach, you know you've been here before, if Dothan people love football.
Yeah.
And people told me, they said, Coach, if you build a winner here that we could be proud of, these people will get behind you, and they have done that. They come out on Friday night. They support our program financially. There's really nothing our kids don't have. It's not one of those things like, man, I wish we had that. If there's something our program needs to be competitive and to win games, we're going to get that. And I always tell people, but as you know, with those things comes expectations. And I'd rather be in a place that has expectations than a place that doesn't care. So, you know, like I said, it's a great spot. I think we're just scratching the surface of where we can go, and you know, we just have to continue to take that one day at a time mindset and try to get better, and you know, make sure tomorrow we're a better football team than we were today. And I know all coaches preach that, but when you look at the schedule we have coming up, that has to happen. If we played right now in Carver, you know, we probably not good enough to put more points on the board than them. But I believe if we continue to improve, you know, and play the brand of football we play, we're different than 99% of people with how we play. Yeah. That, you know, we're gonna be competitive in that football game and hopefully have a chance to win it at the end.
You know, people talk about the single wing today, and even when we were at North, we ran the wishbone, and a lot of people call them gimmick offenses. Well, I think that's a bunch of ballyhoo. But let me tell you, the offense that you run is tough to defend. And kind of talk a little bit about that offense, Jed. And we're talking to Jed Kennedy, the head football coach at Dothan High School, right here on the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today. And I want you to talk a little bit about that offense, because when I watched it for the first time, I said, holy moly, this is going to be tough to stop, but it's fun to watch. Tell us a little bit about the genesis of that offense.
Well, I think number one, you know, I think people always question what they don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you don't turn on college football and see Alabama, Auburn, Georgia running a single wing, right? Yep. And, you know, it kind of goes back to that saying, you know, people look at us because we're different. I look at you because you're all the same. And I think that, you know, part of, you know, what we believe in is that different can help us win games. And, you know, I want to beat people that we're better than, and I want to have a chance to beat people that are better than us. Yeah. And I think one of the things that equalizes things is being different offensively. And when people prepare for us, you know, and have 3 or 4 days to prepare, it's just going to be different than a team that lines up in doubles, because they've probably seen that a couple times already. And, you know, so basically, you know, it is a run-first offense, but it doesn't mean that you have to run the ball every time. It's a direct snap offense, which means a lot of times the ball's not handed off. It's direct snap to a back, and you pick up an extra blocker through the hole, which hopefully sets up some play-action passes. You know, a lot of misdirection, a lot of counter plays. I mean, last year we had 2,000-yard rushers. We rushed for, I think, just under 3,500 yards as a team, and in 7A football, that's a lot of yards.
Yeah.
And I guess it's probably a lot of yards in any level of football. But we were second in the state in scoring. It's unique. People say they don't like to prepare for it, and there's disadvantages to it also. We always don't know what look we're going to get on a Friday night because, unorthodox offense will bring an unorthodox look defensively. So we kind of have our ways that we plan for things. But, like I said, one thing that Dothan has is running back.
Yep.
We've got them, and we got a stud right now. We got a stud that's a junior. We got a kid that's a sophomore that's special. So, it allows us to get, to me, people always ask me what my favorite offense is. It's the one that scores points.
That's right. Yeah.
We're going to make adjustments to what we do to make sure that we can score enough points to win football games. And if that means that we got to spread it out to do that, we're going to do that. And if it means we got to box it in and run the single wing, then that's what we're going to do.
Jed, as a young head coach, I got the occasion to spend a day and a half with Tubby Raymonds. And, of course, you know who Tubby Raymonds is. When you talk about the Delaware, his wing tee, what it helped me as an offensive line guy was it helped me give an advantage to my linemen who were not big but were small and quick, and it gave them the opportunity to get on those, especially on the backside. It helped us so much to be able to use some of the schemes that I learned from the Delaware wing team.
Well, as you know, with high school football, and maybe this isn't even true anymore, the way people go get kids, but you have who you have, right? And you gotta develop who you have to find a way to be successful in high school football. And that might mean take an undersized kid who's a backup linebacker and make him a guard. And you got to have a system that allows them to be successful. And again, we're going to do things the right way here. We're not going to go out and get kids.
Yep.
One of the most things I'm proud of is everybody on our roster was in our roster last year. And we don't have anybody who was here who went someplace else. And,
yep.
Our kids believe in what we do. Our families believe in what we do. And, we're just going to continue to work hard and do things the right way. And, just believe in things that are important to us as a football program. And, we don't worry about other people very often. We don't care about who gets transfers and who doesn't. And, we just come to work every day and work on being a better version of ourselves when we walk off that field. And whether it was a good day or a bad way or some way in between, we come back the next day for a fresh start. And I think that, if, like we tell our kids, if they live their life that way, they're going to be successful. And we think if you run your football program that way, you got a chance to win a lot of football games. So that's kind of the model that we've always taken every place we've been.
Jed, and you know enough about me to know that I like to be positive. I don't like any of the negative stuff. But you just gave me a great segue into a problem that we've got in the state of Alabama, and it's real close to us here in the Mobile area. We got coaches who are somebody involved with the program, either as a parent or a booster that are going out and making promises to kids, and we're getting way too many transfers coming into these schools. And what you're doing at Dothan High School with your coaches and your players is you're keeping them at home. And I love that about what you're doing, and I appreciate you saying that. And you said it in a very kind way, but we got a problem, and I hope that we can get that fixed.
Yeah, and again, I tell our coaches all the time, I said, we want to have a program where kids don't want to leave. And,
right.
If you love on kids and you care about kids and, I'm not saying everybody's always happy with me, I have to make tough decisions, but I'm a firm believer that people believe in how we're doing things. And again, it's not for people who haven't tried to get our kids. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Kids talk. But again, I try not to worry about those things. I tell the people, we have 150 kids right now, 9 through 12 in our program.
Wow.
And 100% of my focus needs to be on those 150 kids.
Yep.
I can't worry about a kid from down the road who went someplace else or a kid from someplace else who might go someplace else. I can't worry about that. I have to, we talk to our kids all the time about controlling things that we can control. And if we take that attitude as coaches, I tell them, when we had our staff meeting, I said, we got to make our program, so we're doing everything so people would be foolish to leave. And that's what's happened.
Yep. And,
I'm a believer that, it doesn't matter what offense you run. If you are good enough, people will find you.
Yeah.
People recruit winners. That's the reality of life. And as long as we continue to be successful here, this year we had 57 schools visit our high school this spring to watch our kids practice. 57 schools.
Wow.
My first year here, there was about 5.
Yeah.
So people are coming through the doors. They're knocking down our doors to see our kids. I think we have 9 kids right now who have offers on our program. 6 of them are committable Division I offers. I'm just proud of the kids we have and the work they put in. And like I said, I can't worry about things that I can't control. And I'm just going to love these kids and treat these kids good here so they never want to leave.
Jed, I appreciate you saying what you said. And the thing that I know is you live that. And those Dothan players are going to stay in Dothan. And I love that. And you develop players. You don't recruit players. And that's what a winner does. You develop them, and your staff develops them. And I'm mighty proud of you. And I thank you for spending some time with us today. I know you could be in a meeting in there with those kids, but you got a great group of coaches that are in there taking care of that for you to talk to us. Thank you so much for that. Look forward to seeing you down the road, pal. Yep.
Yeah. And again, Coach, I'll come on anytime you ask me to. I love talking about our kids. I love talking about this city and our program. And if anybody around the state in this part of the down in the Wiregrass and Rip Hughes is an awesome place to watch a game, and we're a good football team. We got a lot of good teams traveling in to play us. Come check us out, and most importantly, come check our kids out.
Take care, Jed.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Coach.
Talk to you soon.
Yes,
I want to say this about Jed Kennedy. What you see is what you get. There was a great song by a great little group out of Detroit, Michigan at one time called the Dramatics. And they said, what you see is what you get. Well, what you see is what you get with Jed Kennedy and the Dothan Wolves. I do want to mention a couple of other things that we didn't mention in the opening. Ryan, I want to tell you how much I appreciate you sending the statement you sent in about the Jackson Aggies. Shame on me for not mentioning how they went toe-to-toe with Saraland this past Friday night. And they went into that stadium, and I'm telling you, with a very talented football team on the other side with Saraland. And I don't know if there's any team in the state that's got as much talent as Saraland has. They have got a lot of talent. And the Jackson Aggies, being a smaller school, a 4A school, go in there and go toe-to-toe with Jeff Kelly's Saraland team. And thank you for that, Ryan. And we appreciate any comments that y'all want to make. And any questions that you want to make out there, we'll do everything we can to answer those questions. And we certainly appreciate you making that comment. And you're exactly right. They went toe-to-toe with Saraland. When we return, we're going to talk to Bobby Carr at Montgomery Carver. Boy, you talking about a football team with talent? Yeah, that's one that's pretty doggone good. And remember, this is the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today, and we are presented by the United States Sports Academy right here in Daphne, Alabama.
Welcome back to the High School Sports Today podcast. Here's Rick Cleveland.
All right. We just talked to Jed Kennedy from Dothan, and, I think a lot of people that follow high school sports today are talking about Carver-Montgomery. And I wanted to get Bobby Carr on last week, but for some reason I just didn't connect with him. But I did get lucky enough to catch up with Bobby this week, and so we got him on tonight. Bobby, thank you for taking time to be with us on a beautiful Tuesday night here in Mobile, Alabama, pal.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Six or 7 months for us, but obviously we're headed in the right direction. Hopefully we can keep it going.
Bobby, you've had as much success as anybody's ever had between you and Mark Freeman. You guys have won more Alabama Independent School state championships than just about anybody that I know of. And, of course, I want you to talk a little bit about that, because I want people to understand that coaching in the AISA is still a tough job, because you don't have the best athletes. You don't have the worst athletes, but you've got good athletes that come in there and trying to develop a culture like you developed over in Elmore County. That's a tough thing to do, and you guys sure did it and did it well.
Yeah, you know what? Over the years, I know AISA is kind of dwindling down, but at one time, I'm telling you, there was some good football and some really good coaches. I think everybody knows Wayne Trawick, who coached at Central Phoenix City for years, and when he retired, he came over to Glenwood, and we matched up a few times, and he and I talked at a few clinics, and he was like, Coach, I figured something out. When you get to private school football, you don't have that stud tailback to toss it to when it's 3rd and 3. You got to hide some guys. You got to improvise. And, there's a lot of coaching that comes into play, and you got to coach on the fly, so to speak, and this guy gets hurt. You don't have the next man up. You got to move this, your next best player to this position and so forth. So it is a challenge, but I think it's, it's helped me become the coach I am, over the years. And obviously Mark probably could attest to that as well, So, those are some good times, and I've got a lot of respect for a lot of people there and a lot of coaches, and got a lot of friendship. I spent most of my career in the AISA. It's been a good. I just thought it was just time after all these years. I've been, wanting an opportunity. And the one thing Mark told me way back then, he's like, hey, look, when you get in, if you get the right, don't just take a job. Make sure it's a job where you're going to have enough guys to come in there and compete right off. Yeah. Because, you can't bring in kids like you can in the AISA. And we were fortunate to have some kids. I had the quarterback, Nathan Rourke, who, is with the BC Lions. And I had 2 or 3 other Prince Tiga's got 2 Super Bowl rings. So I've had kids come in and play, good players and so forth. And so I just thought, the Carver opportunity was perfect fit for me. I'm friends with the principal. I've known him for years. He actually tried to hire me a few years back, and I just didn't think it was the right time. And, I was going to go to Elmore County at one time, and that kind of fell through. And, sometimes we don't quite understand why God shut certain doors, and it just usually means He's got a better opportunity, or it means there's another door He's got prepared for us. But it's not always on our time; it's on God's time. And I'm just thankful that I kind of went through what I went through the last few years, and because when I walked in that auditorium to meet those kids the first day at Carver, I didn't know how how the reception would be. But when I walked in there and those kids every one of them were standing up, gave me standing ovation, and man, my heart was just immediately full, and I knew God had me in the right place, and it's just been awesome up to this point.
Well, no, Bobby, it hadn't been an easy road for you, to be honest with you, and I think some people probably didn't give you the opportunity that you had earned. And you spent a year with Nathan McDaniel down at Alberta, and that's tough. That was hard, because talent-wise, Nathan he didn't inherit a rose garden, I'm going to tell you. But you're talking about a guy that loves kids and wants to build a program and develop them. That was a tough situation to be in. I understand that.
Yeah, no doubt. That Nathan, played for me years ago, and I thought it was an opportunity for for me to get in the door with the Alabama High School. I'd been over in Hattiesburg for a year at Presbyterian Christian School, 6A private school there, and I thought, you know what? I've been in private school all this time. It's just an opportunity to get in, and you know, maybe God will open another door. And I appreciate Nate. I love Nate, and you can tell he loves his kids. I love those kids in Alberta. Those kids show up every day. Obviously, we were outmanned a lot of times, but my goodness, those kids, God, I have so much respect for them, and they just showed up every day and they went to work with no matter what we were against, you know. And you know, like I said, I love those kids, love Nate, and hopefully the better days are coming down there.
You know, we talk about high school coaches, and when we were all active coaching, we talk about Bill, and Bill's a defensive guy. And we talk about Terry Curtis. Terry Curtis is an offensive guy. And we talk about Mark Freeman, who is just as good as it gets when it comes to offensive strategy and schemes. But, Bobby, you bring a whole new flavor to the thing. I mean, you remind so many of us, and understand this, don't take it as personal as some people might take it, but you bring that kind of offensive football that Rush Probst brought to Alabama. He brought to the Alabama High School Athletic Association a different kind of high school football. You bring that same flavor, Bobby, and that's not a comparison between you and Rush as human beings or anything. It's a comparison between offensive scheme-wise and the way you are an offensive. And I'll tell you, I think people around the state think you are an offensive guru, and I think that's a great thing to be known as. Talk a little bit about the genesis of that, Bobby.
Well, you know what? Honestly, you know, I don't even know how I evolved into a football guy. I played professional baseball, and I coached both football and baseball for 20-plus years. And I just, you know, over the years, just kind of, we evolved into a football powerhouse over there at Edgewood. We had the nation's longest winning streak, 71 games in a row, and then went to Autauga, and we ran that thing to 25 over there without a loss of 96 games in a row. And just, you know, I mean, I don't know. It's just amazing how, you know, how things work out. The only high school football I knew at one time was what I learned in high school. Yeah. We were in the slot. I tossed it. I had two running backs that played with me in high school, and they both played in the NFL. So needless to say, we didn't throw it a lot. But you know, I don't know. I just kind of liked what Spurrier was doing down in Florida back in the day, and Hal Mumme, and I just went to this coach and picked his brain and this coach, and just tried to make it work with what we like to do, what I like to do. But over the years, and had a lot of success. Kids like doing that kind of stuff. And back then when I started doing that, you know, most everybody back then was running the wing tee, if you remember, or the veer, you know. And so we'd see wing tee 7 out of 10 games on the regular season schedule, and nobody really saw the spread. So, you know, that was I guess that was in the early 2000s, and then it just kind of escalated, and fortunately had a lot of success. But you know, I get a lot of raised eyebrows. This is the first year. This is my 29th year as a coach, and it's the first year I have not called plays. So I don't know if you knew this.
No, I did know that. I did not know that.
I just thought going into Carver was going to be such a challenge, taking in the kids from Lanier and their school shut down, and then Carver kids. And I just thought it was important to try to focus on creating the right culture. You know, I get there, we had 177 kids out for spring ball. Wow. And then finding some good coaches that I could bring in that I trusted. And, you know, I think a head coach is only as good as the people he surrounds himself with. I think any leader in any organization is only as good as those people he surrounds himself with. And I'm fortunate to have some really good coaches. You know, hired Richard Bevel, defense coordinator from Ramsey High School the last few years. He's done a heck of a job down there. And he's created 5 turnovers last Friday against Vestavia. You know, Trey Dunbar has been a good friend of mine since 2017. Trey's our offensive coordinator. My son's our quarterback's coach. You know, Robert Johnson, who's been coached high school football for 30-plus years. He was on Freeman's staff at Thompson last year. He's our O-line guy. Fortunately, man, we've got some really, really good coaches. Again, I just thought it was important for me to really focus on building the culture there. And these Carver fans, man, they're crazy. They're not crazy. They're crazy in a good way, like the Dallas Cowboy fans. The Cowboy fans expect to win a Super Bowl every year, and Carver fans expect to win a state championship, and they've never won one. And so I kept telling our kids there's these expectations here, and we've got to understand what the standard is. And so my focus has been on the standard and holding our kids accountable and making sure they meet that standard every day. And so I really hadn't had a whole lot of time to focus on offense. So luckily, I got Trey in there, and he's worked it out. Like I said, he coached my staff in the past, and Trey's coached at Alabama State. He was their offensive coordinator. He's offensive coordinator at Faulkner. He was on Neil Brown's staff at Troy. He's a good offensive guy, and I think it's important to bring somebody in that kind of shares the same vision. And so we mixed a little bit of what he likes to do, some of the stuff I like to do, and we've made it work.
It's got to be great having your son coaching with you. That's got to be something that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he had me choked up. I guess last Friday morning, he sent me a text. He said, I love you, Dad. Go show me. Now go out tonight and show me why I've always wanted to be like you. And so I'm driving down the interstate wiping tears out of my eyes.
That's got to make a lot of people proud, Bobby. And I know it's got to be tough though. If you've called plays, if you've been a play caller. And now I would just about be willing to bet a quarter to a donut that may be the first game you've never called plays in.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. That was it.
And how was that?
I see things. It was fine. It was fine. Like I said, I trust Trey. I think that's the most important thing. And again, we share the same vision. I mean, we got a lot of fun guys to watch for fans, but we got some good players, and then those guys make plays, and he does a good job of getting the ball in our playmakers' hands, letting them make plays. And quarterback T.J. Russell's done a great job. I mean, I told him the other day, I said, look, T.J., we don't want you to, we're not asking you to win any games for us. Just don't lose them. Let these playmakers win the games for us, And so it's been great, man. Been great up to this point. So we all know our schedule's 7A football. Everybody's good. So we'll see what happens.
That's where we want to go. Let's talk about that 7A region too, because you talk about Enterprise, you talk about Dothan, you talk about Patrick Nix over at Central of Phoenix City. I mean, and Opelika's in there. You throw those teams in there, and you got Smith Station, who's going to sneak up on some people before it's over. Mm-hmm. It's a loaded region. And it's something that, and Bobby, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. You've never played a schedule like this. And that's what a lot of coaches are going to say. Bobby's won a lot of games. He's done a great job. But he's never played this schedule. So what's he going to do with this schedule? Well, you open up with, I think, one of the finest young coaches in our business in Robert Evans at Vestavia. I'm talking about a guy that just lives it. And
a lot of respect for him.
He's a good one, and he comes from great pedigree. His daddy Bruce is a tremendous high school coach on Buddy Anderson's staff for years and years.
Yep.
But talk a little bit about that game. And I know there's going to be turnovers and there's going to be kids that are hurt and stuff like that. But you totally controlled this football game. Talk just a little bit about that game.
Well, that game, we had a lot of first game mistakes. I mean, think about it. This is the first time we played against another team together. We're combining two schools. We went through OTAs and so forth in the spring and go through spring ball. We didn't play anybody in the spring. We just played each other because we had 177 of them. So I felt like it would be more important to evaluate them. We could get an idea who could play if we just divided them up and played. And so that was really the first time we've competed against another school. And I knew what we were getting into with them, but our kids were so hungry. My goodness, they were tired of beating on each other and so forth every day at practice. I thought our defense guys made plays when they had to. 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, and a scoop and score on defense. And then we turned the ball over 3 times on offense, twice in our own territory. But T.J. Russell did a great job. Our quarterback threw 3 touchdowns, over 300 yards, and T.K. Norman's a receiver that's a heck of a player, committed to Texas A&M. And Anthony Rogers is one of the top backs in the country, and we actually playing him at slot. And,
I didn't know
committed
that.
Alabama.
You're playing Anthony at slot? Wow.
Yeah, well, he's doing both slot and running back. He's all over the place, returning kicks.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Trey Berry's our running back from Lanier. Trey's got 20-plus offers, so he's a heck of a player. I mean, a really good player. Zion Compton was when I got there. He told me our backup quarterback was the best athlete in school. And I said, well, what other position did he play? I said, Coach, he didn't play. I said, he said, the best athlete in the school sat the bench last year. So we moved him to receiver, and he's picked up about 20 offers. He's, for Auburn, Florida, you name it. He's a heck of a player. He's a 2026 kid.
Wow.
So, yeah, we got some playmakers, some guys that can get it done, that's for sure. But like I said, everybody keeps asking me, how you gonna beat me? I'm like, we're gonna take it one game at a time, and everybody else in 7A is good too. So we'll just see. We got to get fortunate, avoid the key injuries and all that kind of stuff. But we're obviously off to a good start.
Bobby, and we're talking to Bobby Carr, the head football coach at Carver High School in Montgomery, defeated Vestavia Hills, I want to say 41-19 last week. And this week they play at home, and your home games are played at Crampton Bowl. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. So you're going to play Percy Julian, and I call them still Robert E. Lee.
Right.
So you've got them at home this week. What surprised you, Bobby, when you got to Carver? There had to be some big surprises. What was the big surprise?
I think the biggest surprise was the football IQ was really high, and kids understood what we were doing. They got it. They were like, it was incredible. Like they've been just hungry, longing for structure and discipline and that type stuff. And then maybe it's because the old staff was gone, and I'd gotten there 5 months after the old staff had gone. I don't know, but the biggest surprise is how smart these kids are, and not just in the classroom, but the football IQ was really high. I was really impressed. I've been really impressed with that.
Were there any holdovers on the staff? Did anybody stay?
Yep. Melvin Tyus and Dennis Barnett. Melvin Tyus is a former Carver guy who started at safety there and at Troy University, and played for Neil Brown. There's an all-conference guy. Dennis Barnett, former player at Huntington, D-lineman. He also coached D-line from Mike Turkett at Huntington. So those two guys really held our players together. They worked them out during those 4 or 5 months before I could get in there and we could assemble a staff. So they did a great job of putting that all together, man. I tell you what, I can't say enough about those guys. Again, like I said earlier, head coach is only as good as the people he surrounds himself with. And I'm telling you, our guys, man, they get it. And you talk about team chemistry and you want team chemistry, but it starts with the coaching staff. And if you don't have it with your staff, how in the world is your players going to get it? And our coaches just get each other. They show up every day and they're ready to go to work. They've made it really easy for me for this transition. I can tell you that.
Bobby, one of the things that people recognize, if they're coming from Mobile, they go up 65 and they look over to the left and they see this big, beautiful high school, and you see a big football field out there. And talk a little bit about your facilities. And I'm sure that there needs to be some things done there that you would like to see done. What are the goals you have for your facilities?
Well, I think if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards.
Right.
In anything we do, But I tell you, we're building a new field house, $10 million field house. Should be ready October, which probably means Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But it's going to be super nice. And 200+ lockers, new weight room, coach's office, meeting rooms. Top of the line. It's going to be really, really nice. A lot similar to what Dothan just built, actually.
Right.
We're putting a new track in. We're turfing the field. So we're about to turn this thing around in a hurry. So, again, like I said, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. And fortunately, this project was going on before I got there. So, now, I can't take credit for all that.
Well, but you're going to inherit it, and that's a great thing.
Yeah.
That's a great thing.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions that was asked to me, and I didn't have the answer for it, and a lot of questions are asked to me about high school football that I don't have the answers for. But is the field that we see on 65, is that your practice field?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
How are you going to keep people away from standing, right there on the interstate and watching you practice?
Well, that is a challenge. I mean, I'll tell you, look, the first day of spring ball, I bet there were 300 fans out there watching practice.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so fired up on the west side of Montgomery to watch football and for Carver football. Somebody told me that, say, Coach, there's 3 football teams in the state of Alabama: Alabama, Auburn, and Carver. And that's the way they see it, And so, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of wondered. I saw a guy parked the other day and he was sat there for a while. I had to send one of our coaches out there to make sure it wasn't somebody from another school video. But
that's been done in Montgomery before, Bobby. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I know a guy who has a sports talk show that lives in Spanish Fort, Alabama, that was told to go film something one day and he got caught. That was like in 1977. I won't tell you his name though. That's when Jeff Davis and Robert E. Lee were just.
Oh yeah.
Boy, it was dog eat dog.
Yeah.
I think, Bobby, one of the things that a lot of people want to know, did you ever just get frustrated? And because you went through some tough times, you did as a coach. Yeah. Did you ever get frustrated and just say, heck, I'll go back to baseball. I'll coach baseball. I know more about baseball than most people think I know. And
I thought so. But, personally, I went through some things. And, sometimes I think God's got to bring us all the way to our knees.
Amen.
And build us up the right way. And, so I want our kids to know that. I mean, look, like I told them, I saw a lot of brokenness in the Lanier kids.
Yep.
I saw a lot of brokenness in the Carver kids when I got there. And you know what? They inherited a broken coach at one time.
There you go.
But I'm telling you, my heart's full. And, I'm so thankful that God's opened this door. And I don't want to talk about the past and, why this door didn't open for me. Now I know why it didn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a place where God wants me to be, and this job's bigger than football.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of our kids come from so much brokenness, and at the end of the day, when I stand before God, He's not going to say, Bobby, congratulations on winning X amount of games or X amount of championships. He's going to say, what'd you do with those boys on West Fairview Avenue? And when I put them in front of you, how'd you mold them into men they need to be? And I think that should be the goal for any coach. So sometimes, we tend to drift off on the dirt road a little bit from time to time, but, I'm just thankful God's grace shined down on me and this door is open, and I'm so thankful to be here.
Bobby, I don't think they could have made any better choice. I think and who are we to question where God puts you? I think
Correct.
But I do think it's a great fit. I think you've got a group of coaches around you that really believe in you and you believe and trust in them. And the thing that really hits home with me is you get to coach with your son. That's just such a blessing, and to get to spend those hours, that's something.
Well, and that's
great.
why people ask me why I stayed in private school all these years. I got to go to school with my kid every day, first grade until he graduated. And so he played for me, and then he went and played a little ball and got injured and came back and he's been coaching with me. And, I as a father, you can't put a price tag on being away from your kid. And, man, it's just awesome. In fact, some of the coaches I heard, they were like, I went out there and he was coaching our JV guys up the other day, and he's getting on about this or that. And one of my coaches said, Coach, I had to take a double look, make sure it wasn't you. It sounded just like you talking out there. So, yeah, it made me smile, man.
That's a great
thing.
Awesome. Well, Bobby, I've always followed your career. I've kept up with you from get to go, and having been in Prattville when you were over in Elmore County doing such a great job, and followed you as a high school player. And golly, bum, you were just you were blessed. You were blessed with lots of talent in a lot of different areas, and we're so excited for what you're going to be a part of there at Carver. And we're thankful that you spent some time with us tonight, because we want to spend time with you later on. And I'm going to get in touch with my buddy Doug Amos, and I want Doug to get you on his show, because I promise you he loves high school sports as I do. So after 46 years and getting out of this stuff and retiring, this is our way of keeping up with you guys. And just nothing. I don't ever say good luck. I just say I think you create your own opportunities, and then things happen as they happen. But I'm thankful that you're where you are, And
I am too, Coach. And I certainly appreciate you calling and asking me to be on the show.
Well, and we'll do it again down the road. And just keep on punching, pal. Keep punching,
yes,
and I
sir.
know you will.
That's all I know.
You take care of yourself. God bless, and we'll sure be talking about Carver on our Saturday morning show and on our podcast. I can promise you that.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
Take care. That's Bobby Carr, and I'm going to tell you something. This is a guy that, golly, Bobby spent, 27 years in private schools and won everything you can win. And he had a great group of people that were surrounded. He really did. He had great people that supported their programs. But there's always been that question of what could Bobby Carr do in big school football? Well, let me tell you something. His plate is full of big school football right now, because when you talk about 7A Region 2, you talk about Enterprise with Ben Blackman. You talk about Central of Phoenix City with Patrick Nix. You talk about Opelika, and Opelika's got a proven coach who's already been at Opelika and understands. Coach Moore knows everything about what they're going through. And Opelika doesn't have a dry cupboard. Eric Speakman did a good job there, and they develop players. And then you go over to Dothan, and you talk about Jed Kennedy and the job that Jed's doing, running that single wing and giving you all kind of different looks. Well, Bobby Carr's right in the middle of all of that. And 7A Region 2, which we've kind of focused on tonight, boy, they are really, really, really good in that region. And you want to see good football, you go watch a Region 2 7A game, and I promise you, you'll get your money's worth for that ticket. Hey, we're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to talk to Simone Eli, who is the sports director at WKRG right here in Mobile, Alabama. And this is a young lady married to a head football coach, was a great college basketball player. She loves some high school sports. Simone Eli, when we return right here to the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today.
Welcome back to the High School Sports Today podcast. Here's Rick Cleveland.
All right, welcome back to the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today, and we are running a little behind because we've got I'm telling you, we have got the hardest working female that I know. And when you talk
female?
Lady. How else am I supposed to introduce you?
I'll just take the hardest working person. That's fine.
Okay. So we'll leave that other alone.
Gender does not matter.
That's right. You sound like Tracy. I promise you. She'll get all over me for this. And I'm sorry we're a little bit behind, but
Listen, I'm married to a coach. All y'all do is talk. Trust me. I'm well aware of how this works.
You can catch Simone, by the way, if you want to watch her. You can catch her just about every night on WKRG here in Mobile, and I guess you can stream TV just like you stream radio. I don't know, but this lady she is fabulous. Tell me about week 0. Tell me about week 0. What did you
Well, first of all, for starters, from TV perspective, we call it week 1. Okay. But week 0, good times. I mean, listen, I think that we naturally went into the week excited about what some of the matchups were because we were just going into it with a lot of great games, or what we thought would be great games, and then some were even more exciting than what we thought initially. And so our game of the week was Jackson at Saraland, and you look around the field and you have a ton of talent on both sides of the ball and a ton of storylines in there. So, that was a big win for Saraland, I think, and to be able to kind of put an end to last year and kind of how that one ended there in Tuscaloosa and be able to start this season off and a good step forward. But on the other side of that for Jackson, I mean, this is a team that I don't know what the polls are this week. I haven't looked at it, but they should still be number 1, you would think, in Class 4A. They were for the preseason. They have all types of talent and, what showed signs of what exactly they can be talent-wise. So they have a ton of momentum moving forward. It seems like they have dropped off at all when it comes to guys posting on social media. And then you look at, obviously, the Battle of Old Shell Road. I mean, that was a thriller game and how that one went down to the wire. And, St. Paul's, I would argue, got a little lucky and they're mixed up there and mishap. I mean, listen, it's just the truth. I mean, mixing up what down it was and, trying to like red field goal and everything we had to do over there. But listen, it was an exciting night. Then you look at the Battle of Pritchard on Saturday, and I think that Sammy Dunn has shown everything that he can be over there at Viger as well. I don't think Theodore is loving the fact that Baker came in and beat on them at their own place in week 1, and that's a big win for Juan Johnson as he moves forward. And so, a lot of our brand new coaches in this area, I think, have a lot of excitement and momentum now going into week 2 because Juan Johnson, a big win at Baker. You got Coach Lambert over at Davidson, pulled one out at home against Murphy. Robertsdale won for the first time in more than 1,000 days. You're dating back to September of 2021. He was actually our coach of the week, Coach Chris Bell over there at Robertsdale. And so, it's good to see kind of new faces and new blood down here doing big things. And we roll into week 2 now, or week 1, if you will, if you're, one of the H to A types. And now we have some, region matchups, which will bring a whole new laundry list of exciting storylines.
Well, and I want to get your take on Gunnar Rivers at St. Michael's.
Yeah.
Because he's special. Ain't no doubt.
Well,
he's special.
I wish I could give you even more in-depth take, except for the fact that when Brian, of course, my husband coaches at Brian, when they went there for that for their jamboree a couple weeks ago, all I did was watch the back of my 2.5-year-old son's head because he was sprinting, through the entire stands and field. So I didn't really get to see Gunnar throw very much against us. So I heard it was pretty impressive, much to the unhappiness of the person I'm married to. But, it's great. I think Gunnar has grown like a foot, it feels like, in just a year's time. When we did our 33 teams in 33 days segment, which is our spring football special, I went to St. Michael. You can just tell this is a kid that has really come into his own, not only just from a maturity standpoint. His interview was so improved from a year ago. And he's just still kind of like a baby a year ago. And now I feel like he really is becoming kind of a young man and flourishing in that role. And going into another season as the guy is always going to bring extra confidence, of course. And so I think with that, he's also grown a ton, which is going to happen, growth spurt as you get older. And in high school, you see these kids just sprout up. He's put on a bunch of weight, it looks like. I don't know exactly what he weighs, but he looks like he can really be a presence in the pocket. Whereas, maybe a year ago, he'd get pushed around a little bit more, but now it's like he stands in there, delivers the ball. And his stats were unbelievable last season. I mean, literally unheard of. And I think a little of that went unnoticed, so to speak, because he maybe didn't have a ton of guys around him and they didn't go win, 10 games or whatever. But, as that system continues to roll, as that school continues to improve and grow, I mean, I think special things are on the horizon for, obviously Coach Rivers, who's, elite in his own right, his son, and, Simon Quarterpassy over there does a great job. And I think there's just a lot of excitement for that program, as there should be. And who knows? We'll see where they end up, 10 weeks from now.
I'm kind of excited to see Gulf Shores go to Mary Montgomery and play that team. I think that's going to be a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think that the game, last year, I think whenever it was, they scheduled each other. So I guess I would have seen that a few months ago. I was like, wow, okay, this is a matchup between a team that won a state title and the best 7A program that we've had along the Gulf Coast in quite some time, best season in MGM history. And it lost its luster just a tiny bit when it comes to just the names of who maybe both programs had when you had the Ronnie Royal types over at Gulf Shores. The Colin Wilson is going to be equally as impressive. He's doing big things. Obviously, Hudspeth and all the crew over there at the beach. But then also for MGM, they have new blood as well. Zach Golson has built that into, 100-plus roster. And guys overexcited in Sims. Everyone wants to play football now. He's gotten the basketball players out there. He's built that in his own hallways. And so I think that there's just, when you look at, the quarterback, obviously Hollins now for MGM is over at South Alabama. And so they're kind of reworking what does this offense look like, maybe a little bit just with new personnel and things, but it's not like they're going to move it any slower or they're going to, or move it any fast. They're not going to slow down, I should say. And so, I don't know. I think that it's an exciting matchup from the perspective of what the two teams accomplished a year ago and what they could be, again, 10 weeks from now. And so, yeah, and there's no question it's going to be a huge game. Doesn't mean anything in terms of, region implications necessarily, but I think both of those things will be there at the end of the season 10 weeks from now.
Of course, we're talking to Simone. She is the sports director at WKRG here in Mobile. And the battle for the cannon.
Yep.
That's this Friday night. What color are they going to paint the cannon this time with Murphy and McGill?
Well, last decade, they painted it, orange. So, are they even letting us paint the cannon anymore? I don't even know. Listen, I think a couple things about that game. Gerhard Mathangani, who does sports with me here at News 5, we just made that our game of the week, so that's official. We'll be out there at Laz Stadium. Murphy's obviously the host of that game. And so I think that there's a huge opportunity for both programs because they are in a pretty much impossible region.
Yep.
All right. So McGill has been teetering in that, okay, can we get back into the playoffs? Obviously, this is a team that's not even 10 years removed from a blue map and running the table. And so can they get back into that elite, kind of upper echelon team in Class 6A? And they certainly have the coaching staff. Coach Falcon does a fantastic job. Then on the other side, you have a guy like Justin Hanna, who is brand spanking new to this area. But I think they were close last week, right? They were close against Davidson. They were up, and they've done some very impressive things offensively. It's a huge opportunity for Murphy to go in and play spoiler, so to speak. Make no mistake about it. If they were to win this game, I think that it would surprise a lot of people because McGill just has a returning starting quarterback, and they have a guy who's coached in college, and they just have all those pieces and maybe just put together a little bit more than Murphy is. But with that comes a chip on the Panthers' shoulder, and McGill doesn't want to have a letdown. So an opportunity for both to start region play 1-0, which would be huge just because how impossible that region is when it comes to how many state champions are in it, how many talented athletes are in it. You're talking about Theodore and Spanish Ford and Saraland and now Gulf Shores, everybody and their brother. And so, I think it's an opportunity for both teams to really just have the momentum starting off into region play, and both teams coming off of a week 1 loss as well.
Wow. Now, you know what? You know as much about high school football in Mobile as anybody I know, and that's impressive. Now, let's go
that's a compliment.
Well, it is, and I don't give a lot of those. I try to, but obviously I don't.
I like that. Me neither.
So the Dirty Dozen goes to Birmingham and wins the Juanita Body tournament. 75 teams in it. The Dirty Dozen, are they back?
Oh, listen, man, are they back? When did they ever drop off? Kate Wood is the GOAT, bro. Listen, she's fantastic. I love spending time with her, just picking her brain, hearing what it is that that they are doing behind the scenes. I don't know. I don't know if there's never a back or not back. When you're doing what you're doing at the level that she's doing it, I don't know. I think that, this is a dominant program. I think that's going to be exciting to watch as we, roll into the season and the fall continues. And so, I don't know, a lot of storylines for sure. And I don't know if there's a back. I just don't think they ever left.
Well, I don't think that they left. I just want to know if they're going to win another blue map because, when you've been around Mobile as long as we have and you remember all the blue maps that Becky Dickinson won there. And these girls have won some state championships too. They hadn't taken a back door to anybody. And
that's what I'm saying is that and Coach Wood has, make no bones about it. The standard, she goes in there and she's tough as nails. And as a former Division I athlete, Like, I love tough coaches. That's what I thrive on. At 33 years old, I'm married to a tough coach. I'm a tough coach. Our kid probably has it rough growing up, and there's no doubt about that. But, like, that's who Kate Wood is. And she demands excellence. And when we spoke at media days, and, you know, they want to keep this thing rolling. I mean, they just won it all. We did an interview during the off season, and I said, hey, do you have somewhere that your, like, trophies are set up? Your red maps, your blue maps, you know, she's got about 7 of them. She said, no, I really don't have them all set up. I said, okay, well, can you set them up for me for this interview? Because I want to be able to see them. And listen, man, when you got a coach sitting there and you have what she's done, and this is no disrespect to what Dirty Dozen, what this program has always been, and Kate Wood would be the first to tell you, like, she honors what this program is and what it always has brought to the table dating back decades and decades. And so she's not trying to come in there and be the new era of anything. She's trying to uphold what the standard for McGill volleyball has already set there for years. And so, I mean, listen, I think the world of her. I really do. And I don't think that, I don't think that there's a matter of being back. I just think they haven't left. And hell, if they didn't win it, I think I'd be surprised.
Well, throw that at the host. That's just a bad terminology. So,
well, who's the host?
Me.
I know.
I'm the
I thought
guy.
you kind of blame a producer or somebody. You are the guy.
Yeah,
but
that's
with that comes, like, now look, like Bayside, right? Bayside is now into 7A. Like, this is, there's so many different things.
It's unfair. It's
unfair.
Unfair? It's unfair.
Unfair to who?
It's unfair because they have to use the multiplier and they have to use the other thing, the whatever it is, competitive balance, to move up into 7A. I mean, they should win 50 in a row if against schools of their own size. And if you're going to put competitive balance and the multiplier, put it on public schools too.
Whoa. Not public schools, city schools.
Well, city schools.
You want to have a conversation, Rick? You want to have a conversation? I'll go offer dates about why the multiplier and why competitive balance, maybe not multiplier, but competitive balance makes no bones about it. There is nobody doing more than damn city schools nowadays. And so if you want to sit here and put that on somebody, it needs to be city schools, a bunch of private schools, and all the people want to complain about Terry or complain about Ham and all these folks. Like, look around, because there are folks that are getting whoever the heck they want to get because they have the resources, because they can pay coaches who don't have to teach, because they're a city school system, and that is where they need to introduce something that is no multiplier or competitive balance or something that evens the deal a little bit.
Okay, we agree with that. And I'm going to tell you there's a couple of our dear friends that agree with that as well. But I'm going to let you get out of here tonight. And next time we're going to have you for 45 minutes because I owe you. And thank you. I know you're getting ready for a broadcast tonight. Thank you for taking time, me being late. And so
it's all good.
I'm running you short tonight, and I'm sorry. So take care.
No, it's all good. It's all good. All right, Coach.
You know I love you. Just take care. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
That's Simone, and she'll be a regular on here, I can promise you. When we come back, right here on Thompson Tractor Plus Sports Report, Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today, we're going to talk to Scott Basden at Muscle Shoals, and that'll be quick right here.
Welcome back to the High School Sports Today podcast with Coach Rick Cleveland.
You know, when you mess up with one of your buddies and you go overtime with other guests and, you know, you just mess up. And I would never want to mess up with Scott because Scott Basden is one of my favorites. And first of all, because he's an O-line guy. Second of all, because he's just a dadgum good football coach. And third, it's all about the kids. And that's special to me. Coach, welcome into the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today, and please accept my apologies for being a little late.
No problem. No problem. Been running late all fall myself.
Scott, talk about your football team. I know you're young. You opened up on the other side of the score last week, and you know, we all go through this as coaches, and we got young teams, and you got a young team. Let's talk about the last week's game.
Hey, you know, really excited about this team. You know, we are very young in some spots, but, you know, I've said this, and, you know, I have to keep reminding myself, you know, the guys that, you know, we lost some really great football players that have played a lot of football. Yep. And so, you know, we're new in a lot of spots, and, you know, I knew going into the season, you know, they're going to make some mistakes, and you got to be patient, and, you know, you got to learn from each failure. And, you know, just so happens the other night, you know, some of those failures end up costing us the game. You know, we had opportunities there to, you know, win, but I know this is going to sound crazy because, you know, I hate losing. But I really, you know, to tell you the truth, I think if we had pulled that out, like we had, you know, an opportunity there at the end to intercept the pass, you know, one of our own guys knocked it out of our other guy's hands. I don't think that we would have learned much of the lesson that we needed to. So, you know, it's one of those, it's not just coach talk. It's just sort of the reality of things. Sometimes you don't like it as a head coach, but sometimes you learn more from losing than you do from winning a game like that against a great opponent. You know, I thought it was a great atmosphere for our young guys to go on the road for 2.5 hours and play a quality opponent. You know, they basically had everybody coming back from a third round playoff loss to Parker, just like, you know, we lost in the third round to Clay Chalkville. But, you know, the issue with us, you know, we lost about 25 seniors, and, right. You know, Ali and them had a lot of people back. And so that was a great experience for our kids to be in that environment. And so, you know, we've got to learn. We've got to learn from that situation and be better this week and continue to get better throughout the year. Because, you know, we've got the region ahead of us. It's always tough. And then, you know, obviously the playoffs.
You know, we're talking to Scott Basden, the head football coach at Muscle Shoals High School, who traveled to Gadsden City last week and lost 33-28. A lot of points on the board. When you talk about this kind of football game, and I want to say this about Gadsden City, they've kind of had I don't know if you call it the monkey on their back or whatever, but, you know, that's a school that was consolidated. They consolidated several schools and made it Gadsden City. They've been through several coaches, and I think they're just now beginning to find their way in this in what I think is one of the most competitive areas in high school football. But you mentioned that, Scott, about 6A Region 7. And you look at that region, and Decatur's got a new football coach. Hartsville's elevated another football coach, one of their staff members. So there's a lot of new things happening in 6A7, Region 7. So talk just a little bit about that, because I'm not nearly as familiar as I need to be about Region 7 and 6A. And you have cut your teeth right there in the middle of it.
Yeah, you know, Bert has always done a great job of when he was with Yeager at Mountain Brook.
Yep.
And he's been at Hartselle here probably the last 3 or 4 years after coming back from Vestavia. Bert's a football guy, comes from a football family. Brother's a great coach. His dad was the Hall of Fame coach. So, Bert does a really great job of coaching those kids, and they'll play hard. Decatur John Ritter, he was actually on my staff early on. I used to work for his dad, and John's done well as a head coach, and he'll have those guys ready to play. They'll be fundamentally sound, and of course Cody's been there about like I have. We've been at the same place a long time, and it's always a battle with him, being old teammates.
Yep.
And, it's not really that fun playing against each other, but, we have that friendship and, a lot of respect for him and the coaching job that he does. And, Coleman had a new coach last year, not really familiar with him. He's from down around the Birmingham area, so
right.
I've never had a lot of experience with him. So, it's week in, week out. It's good football, and it's really good coaching. And not knocking our region or our coaches, but that's why we try to go and play teams like Gadsden City, because we don't see that type of speed all over the field.
Right.
We see it when we get in the second and third round, fourth round down around Birmingham and stuff. And so, we need to see that type of speed to help us prepare for later on. And then, our region is really just fundamentally sound, good coaching football. You're going to have some wide open talent in places, but just top to bottom speed, our region's not really known for that. I think our region's really known for just playing fundamentally sound football and trying not to beat ourselves.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, because when I think about that area up there, we played Hartselle a couple of times when we were at Prattville. And I'm going to tell you right now, you're talking about just lining up and saying, here we come, and the quarterback could even point where they were going to run. And they just try to knock you off the ball. And, I mean, they meant business. And so that's about the only team we never had to play. We never played Muscle Shoals or any of those teams in your region. But I can tell you that that kind of football is the kind of football, as an O-line guy, that's what I love to see. I mean, we're just coming up there and we're going to hit you in the mouth, and here we come. If you tackle us, we'll get up and we'll run another play. But that's the kind I associate that with you guys.
Yeah, it's really, it's nothing flashy. You better be fundamentally sound, and you better be doing what you're supposed to be doing, or, you get against some of those teams that if you're in the wrong spot, speed, like I always say, speed kills. But if you're in the right spot, you can sort of eliminate some of those big plays.
So talk about this week. So you don't get a breather. You get Florence, and they come in just like you did. They failed their first week, but I guarantee you it'll be a battle royale.
Yeah, it'll be a great atmosphere. It's like I told our kids. I think the last 9 or 10 years we've beat them, and it's like I told them. You can let the fans talk about streaks and all that, but as far as I know, this team hadn't beat anybody, and so they don't own a part of any streak. So
right.
we've got to go out and play. And Kenny's done a phenomenal job since he took over there. I watched them play Hillcrest last week, and Hillcrest is they're a really good football team with a lot of great athletes, and Florence was able to stay in the game till late there in the fourth quarter. So we're going to have our hands full again, and we got to be better this week than we were last week, and try not to make the same fundamental mistakes again.
Talk about your staff. We're talking to Scott Basden, who's the head football coach at Muscle Shoals. Talk a little bit about your staff, Scott, because I think one of the things that I think you're proudest of is you've got a lot of guys who've been with you for a while.
Yeah, I think it gets overstated sometimes that people just say it by word of mouth, but I truly know this, that since I've been at Muscle Shoals, it's been under a fog, and that, to me, that's the favor of God. He's blessed me tremendously with a great staff, with great administrators, with great players, and most of my staff is, I know 5 of them's been with me for 17 years since I've been there. Able to bring 3 or 4 guys on through the years that have really, I think, improved our football program. Michael Darden's my offensive coordinator. He came from Oxford. Scotty Peoples also came from Oxford. Tyler Sizemore and Josh Bailey are all offensive line coaches. So, Derek Weaver's been with my defensive line for 17 years. Stephen Lawler's been with me for 17 years. He's my defensive coordinator. Robert Gordon, he played at Viger and then played at UNA. He's been with me for 17 years. So it's just it's a real blessing that those guys are just – they're like brothers and they're like family. You never have to worry. I hear horror stories about people in staffs that they have animosity and they're not loyal, and luckily for me, I've never experienced that, and just like I said, I've had the favor of God on me in my coaching career, and I couldn't be more blessed and be more thankful for the guys that I get to work with and work for.
Well, I can tell you this, after talking to some of your players that I've seen, they sure are blessed to have played for you and your staff, because they sing nothing but your praises. I can tell you that.
Well, at the end of the day, you want to impact lives, and I hope that, being in our program has led them down that path to, be better spiritually and physically and mentally. And, that's really our motto is God, family, team. I think if you get those 3 things in order, then you can be real successful in this life.
Well, you certainly have been up to this point, and I don't doubt that I have no doubt in my heart at all that it will continue that way, and I'm super proud to know you and to love you and to be able to have you on our show, and certainly look forward to us talking down the road. We'll try to get together mid-season, and as we always do, and talk about your football team and how things are going up in the Shoals area, because you're a guy that we think a lot of. And thank you for taking time out tonight to chat with us. And
well, I appreciate all your kind words, and Rick, I think this goes without saying that a lot of guys just hang it up. But I appreciate your investment not only in our coaches across this state and God's word every day, and I appreciate your investment in young people and caring about the sport. And I mean that, friend, from the bottom of my heart, and love you. And if we can ever help you, and you got my number.
I love you too, pal. Take care. We'll be watching Friday night, I hope. You take care.
Thank you.
God bless.
You too.
That's Scott Basden. You don't find a guy that loves them children any more than he does. And he coaches them hard, and he loves them when they walk off that field. And before we leave tonight, a couple of things I do want to clean up. First of all, I want to wish Ron Ingram of the Alabama High School Athletic Association. He's a member of that staff, been a sports writer for, it seems like, 100 years, but one of the best at covering high school sports. I want to wish Ron a happy birthday today. Also want to mention to the folks in Selma and Morgan Academy that you are right in the midst of every prayer that goes up around here. And I just don't have the words to tell you how heartbroken we are for the Tellier family and all of you folks there in Selma. And thank all of you for paying close attention to us tonight here on the Thompson Tractor High School Sports Today. I want to thank my producer, Steve Stanley, and thank you for being a part of our show today. And I want to leave you with this. Remember this, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, he is always with you. God bless you. See you here same time, same place next Tuesday night.